Hey, welcome to this shortwave radio channel. There's a lot of people asking me all sorts of questions. And we always, from time to time, get the question of, with less international broadcasters, I have lost interest in shortwave. Or one of the most often is there's so much noise, I don't hear much. And unfortunately, it's a reality that is facing a lot of shortwave and radio listeners in general. Whatever the type of radio listening you do, medium wave, long wave, noise is a huge problem. And of course, sometimes it lowers the amount of signals we have. So in some cases, you have to go DXing and use your radios, outside your home. But here I want to address one thing about the hobby of radio listening, that we have different types of interest in the hobby of radio listening. And a lot of people focus on sometimes, international broadcasts, but don't realize that there's so much more. Actually, there are a lot more signals in the utility and amateur radio bands than in the international broadcast bands. And there's a lot of mysteries and a lot of mysterious things out there. So, to keep the interest in radio, you also have to try to expand the listening that you want to do. One of the the comments, that I see a lot is people saying, "Well, you heard that pip from Russian, from Moscow, Russia, 9996 with the time signal. So what? I don't see what's interesting." Well, what's interesting is mostly the DXing aspect of it. Hearing a signal that isn't that strong, it's not as strong as an international broadcast, coming all the way from Moscow, Russia, or close to St. Petersburg in some cases. It's like the number stations. Yeah, you don't decode what's there. You're not going to know what it's saying or trying to say to some spy or some, embassy somewhere. But one thing for sure is that the sheer coolness of I'm hearing, diplomatic spy transmissions from states, it's just the coolness of that. And that you grasp it or you don't. When I see people saying, well, that's not interesting, that's not interesting, that's not interesting, you know what? Radio isn't for you because you're not interested in, you don't understand just the coolness of having all of these unusual and exotic signals that are on the bands. We focus on mysterious signals that's I finally found out that were possibly from France, M23 Morse code identification stations the other day. And just the fact that, for a while it's unknown, where does it come from? Who is hearing it? There's also this factor of, there's a Facebook group for a reason. There's a YouTube channel for a reason. There's Zooms, and there's, of course, the not just the Zoom meetings, but the also the fact that you have the live shows once a month. It's to bring everybody together. The Facebook group is pretty cool for that also because as they pass, if I hear something, I almost always post what I hear when it's especially unusual. I don't post everything, although maybe I should. There are some things sometimes that I listen to, like when it's in French. I know the majority of people on the Facebook group are mostly listening to English language, yet there are French speakers out there, and there are people in the Facebook group that do understand French. So I probably should post anything I'm listening to. But I try to post as much as I can of what I hear on the bands. And the fact that we can share also, I hear this Morse code here. Anybody else is hearing it. Yesterday there was this signal that possibly comes from Ukraine. It's in Russian. And, I heard it on 7110 lower sideband, repeating all the time, same phrases and the same comments. And it was of interest. There's a war out there, with Russia and Ukraine. And that there are some people out there that are going to use radio for, expressing their emotions, expressing their concerns, trying to, that a war is often not just a war on the military front. It's sometimes a radio war. Sometimes it's a war of ideas that goes through broadcasting something. And well, we're part of the people who can listen in on that. And it was fun yesterday. I posted 7110, and then I had all these people answer back under the comments that, oh, I hear it in Toronto, I hear it in the East Coast, I hear it this place. Somebody was hearing it really well on an SDR. Just the fun of having that, and people sharing. And some people immediately jump on any video that I post and they're like, oh, I'm going to try it right now. You just posted a video. Maybe it's still on. It adds to the fun of radio. We are sharing things together like never before. Once again, when people say the internet kills shortwave, not at all. It has nothing to do with killing shortwave. And it's the other way around. There's so much resource now. It's cool to have the internet help out. It's cool to have videos, have live shows, have a Facebook group, have people gathering together and tuning the bands and sharing their own observations of a signal or something. Yesterday, one of the things I immediately thought is by sharing it, I would guess somebody will maybe speaks Russian or, and maybe can understand what's being said on the broadcast. So that's where you need to be if you want to have and still enjoy the fun of radio, is to not only try international broadcasts, it's also to tune in to all the mystery out there. Of course, for most of those, you'll need a single sideband capable radio. I often get people saying, well, I don't have the big gun radios like you, like the Yaesu FTD X10 that I use for amateur radio here. I got the big ICOM right here, but I got a lot of portables. And one of my focus often in receiving these signals is to also take a portable with just a telescopic antenna and go outside where it's quieter and tune in that same signal. Can I hear it on a portable? Why? Because I want to show you that you don't need to have $1,000 radios to enjoy the hobby or to hear the weak signals of the mysteries that are out there. I get a lot of comments about, well, I'm never hear pirate activity because, I'm just using a portable and telescopic. I'm sorry, but there's a lot of those that are strong enough that if it's not too noisy around you, you will hear it with the telescopic on a portable. It's not a question of having the big gun radios at all. Yes, of course, if you have big antennas and a big radio and in some quiet location, you have advantage over a lot of people. But there's always a way to enjoy the hobby and hear these signals, even with very modest equipment, not expensive equipment, and listen in to the number stations from Russia or the number station from Poland that I was tuning the other day. From international broadcasts to utilities to aeronautical. There's so much stuff out there. But I think the main focus is to try to find a quiet location is what's going to help you and define that listening experience. And that is a tough one because try to explain to somebody it's too noisy where you are. Define noise. A radio already has static. Even in a quiet environment, if you put the volume up, you'll hear static. It's part of that's radio. But what is normal static and what is static that is, too high of a noise floor that it blocks everything? You don't necessarily hear it, and especially if you don't have any experience, you just bought your first radio. How do you know that what you have and what you're hearing in the noise is normal, or it's slow noise, or it's high noise? It's a question of experience in some way, but you've got to, I think, consider, even if you're a newbie, that in your home with a portable radio, it's probably too noisy to enjoy a lot of the hobby. And I think that from the start should be, for most people, the first idea. Yeah, it's already too noisy. You need to find a way. And how many people I've seen here with comments and even on the Facebook group say, I took my radio to the park with a piece of wire. I was amazed at what I could hear compared to what I hear at home. Yeah, because at the park, the houses and the civilization is further away, lower noise. Lower noise, more signals. In a given band, there are probably dozens of signals that you could hear, but the noise is overpowering it. And that is unfortunate because we live in that era now of noise. It's like, we talk about it sometimes. We can compare it to astronomy. The light pollution in astronomy is a very good equivalent explanation of if you could see radio noise. Well, it probably looks like light pollution for astronomers. You see that, it's all washed out in a glare. There's almost no stars in it. Well, think of the stars as being the radio stations trying to get to you, and think of that light pollution as what's blocking it. The light pollution is the noise on your radio. And if you go out to a dark side, you notice that, oh, there's more stars. If you go to a dark side, you're probably going to also have less noise on the radio, hear more stations. The good thing about it is that in our case of radio, a dark side for radio noise is not necessarily going outside of the city. It's just finding a little wooded area somewhere, or a park, a big park, which means you can, just go maybe to a local park and that's enough. Compared to astronomy, where light pollution is a much bigger problem, because even if you go to a park, it's still light pollution. You really have to move out of the city. But to enjoy the hobby, you got to try different things, and you got to try different types of signals. And do take your portable receivers with you everywhere you go. Find quiet spots where you can DX and have fun. And, take it as a little trip. On a beautiful day, there's nothing more fun like finding yourself a little quiet spot somewhere. Bring your portable radio and enjoy the beautiful day and enjoy radio at the same time. So these are, little comments that I try to tell everybody. It's like, you will hear stuff. Take the time to do it right and find where it's quieter and where you can tune all of those signals. And then, of course, there's all the online websites that help you, and, the Facebook group, and here, the channel with videos and all sorts of things. And enjoy the hobby, guys. It's still a very cool hobby, even in 2024. And it's still a lot of fun to chase all the mysteries out there. Turn on the radio and listen, guys.